Creator, Great Spirit, we thank you for today as we gather here in this circle with our university visitors. Thank you for blessings of Mother Earth, sun and moon, oceans, rivers, mountains. Blessings of refreshing rain, cleansing winds, purifying snow. The forest of trees, of flowers, medicine plants. Creator, Great Spirit, thank you for the winged ones, the four-legged, the water dwellers, all part of our world. Thank you for our ancestors once here, leaving us teachings to help us and guide us every day to walk in a good way. May we leave a light and loving footprint for our children and those to come behind us.
Really excited to be the team leader for this program grant called A Shared Future, which stands for Achieving Strength, Health and Autonomy through Renewable Energy Development for the Future. What we're really interested in is looking at the most promising ways of having Indigenous and Western knowledge systems work together in all jurisdictions. I'll just remind us about the premise for A Shared Future, and that's relationships matter for reconciliation. And we talk about it in the context of renewable energy. That's essentially the chosen platform.
It brings hope for a future, a good future in reconciliation, for well-being of our earth. I think it's the hope that I see from this project.
We will work together and by doing so begin to advance reconciliation within our team of knowledge holders, but also that we can profile this as an example of how innovation can happen in the country in partnership with Indigenous communities, the science community and university academics coming together with Indigenous knowledge holders.
So it's working with First Nations and Indigenous communities for Pembina is kind of a new area that we're really getting into, and it's really exciting. We've done a little bit around the impacts of the oil sands in Fort Chipewyan. So there's a lot of really interesting projects that we're working with, and it's really exciting to be involved in this space.
Well, I think for me the most exciting part of this program is that it's unprecedented in terms of the level of investment that is being brought to bear on the important issue of environment and health broadly. And then the other piece would be in what we often awkwardly term knowledge translation. And this is something that always looms large over us researchers. How do we get the facts out of the shop and into the world? And so my own philosophizing about what that means around knowledge and its translation or mobilization is very consistent with Heather's conceptualization in this project, which is really, it's about relationship building. And if you focus on the relational, the knowledge takes care of itself. And so defining the success and checking in on the success as we move forward is really about a check on relationships.
Our research is about relationships and healing and reconciliation with the land, air, and water around us. And we're going to, through this program, support a number of different projects that are at various stages. Some, like Sauk Nation, for example, is already ahead of the curve, and they're doing all these innovative things, and we want to be able to share their story about how the community visioned together to come up with their plan and why they became the first Indigenous solar community in Canada, and are getting global attention for their innovation and ways of moving forward. So we'll hear from Andrew about that. He's going to take us on a tour.
Here, like us, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You know, but here, it's more economical to do it. And we're so close now.
There are others who are trying to, for example, get off diesel, or are considering wind energy, or are already doing wind energy.
I'm here trying to help understand from the Mi'kmaq perspective, what did the 150 megawatt wind farm project do for our community in terms of nation building? We look at the concept of two-eye seeing. So as Mi'kmaq people, we could see the change that would happen in our community. And then from the other side, from the Western perspective, the academic perspective, being able to bring that into the circle as well.
My role in this project is to continue to bring the understandings of two-eyed seeing forward and continue to encourage that people consider both eyes, the mainstream Western academic perspectives, side by side with the Indigenous knowledge perspectives, and bring forward the words of the elders that I've been working with over the years. And in the telling of stories and in the hearing of stories and in the sharing of stories, that we can see a perfect manifestation of what Elder Albert Marshall means when he says that knowledge lives within stories, that knowledge is alive and that it has spirit, and that it might be years and years before that spirit germinates within our own understandings, or it might be within the next hour.
As a project site, I think that we can offer a lot of the experience that we have in bringing together two perspectives in our experience with two-eyed seeing. And I think that the rest of the project will certainly inform what we do as an organization as we look to further refine and structure our science as we pursue water research in an era of reconciliation.
You know, finding ways that we can help each other and with our parallel projects on renewables and different models of renewable energy development. So we develop renewable energy by allowing the community to decide their fate and coming up with policies that support that.
As academics, those of us who are academics on the project, we have a lot to learn as we grow and have these experiences together. It's going to affect how we do things in the future, and I believe we're going to be open enough to learning those kinds of lessons, but taking them back into our institutions and into our funders, and some of us are involved with policymakers. Myself, I am, and that's one of my audiences. I'm very interested to bring some of those lessons back into the policy realm.
I have a background in political science, political theory, and philosophy. A big part of what I'll be doing is leading a policy analysis of what I would call overarching policy contexts or frameworks within which we're trying to do this transformative work. And it's not my place to walk into a community and say, you're doing it wrong, because I'm not going to be right. But the tension between the economy we find ourselves in and the world we want to create is something that I think we just need to continually work at reconciling.
So it's not about asking questions of our research yet. It's about getting to know each other and finding out what's needed so that we're not just leaping before we look, and we're actually being really thoughtful about doing research that's useful and meaningful to the communities that we partner with.
My name's Amy Nawagabo. I'm a member of Whitefish River First Nation in Ontario, and I work for the Native Women's Association of Canada. My role in the project is to be a gender champion to help bring light the gender considerations with respect to the project. So even though I'm personally here, I think I'm here to represent NWAC. And even if I'm gone, that will still continue on with NWAC, and that they can participate, because Aboriginal women have a huge part to play when it comes to water and the environment. Work that's happening across Canada, there's a role for Aboriginal women to be involved, to not just engage in research projects, but maybe lead some of these projects.
We have to make sure that we provide good information and good communications. We have to make sure that we have a good communication strategy to keep Canadians engaged and informed of what's going on.
The role of the David Suzuki Foundation is to assist in amplifying the stories that are going to come out of this very innovative project. I think it's really important that the outputs of this project are widely disseminated, not just to the public, but also to policymakers.
You know, we cannot rely on fossil fuels in our future, and renewable energy, we thought, not only is it a way to reconcile some of the damage we've done to the land and water and air around us, but maybe there's something about it that could work towards reconciling our relationships with each other.
I think that just that this project exists starts to create a new path and ways of doing things that will inspire others and make it easier for others to do community-based participatory research in meaningful collaboration with Indigenous communities.
Bulaliak Dondeli Bijidayak, Nin Delawisi Diana Lewis, Deleoe Sebeganagadig. That's what I've said, is thank you for coming. And I'm from Sebeganagadig First Nation in Nova Scotia. Last night when we were listening to the chief speak, I was just sort of listening for some words that I could use today to sort of just start the conversation. And one of the things that really struck me about what he said was that in this change that we're seeing, people are starting to come to us. And people are starting to come to us for our words and for our knowledge. The Mi'kmaq word for nature translates to the place of creation. So that's very clear how we feel about nature.
This room filled with each one of you who wants to make a change. How wonderful this is to be in this circle. To know that there are people actually who want little Finn to have a future, to have what we had, to be able to swim in a lake that doesn't contaminate his skin, have water to bathe in, have a glass of water that we can drink every day.
I would like to say the word Natsumat, together as one. And that's a very, that says it all, but also for the future generations. We have to get to our future generations to understand where we are and get them to help us change. We don't have a choice. Until we don't want to get to that place where it's too late. You have to think of ways of thinking outside the box. Sooner or later, we're going to be doing it anyway. We might as well start now.